Hey guys, in this lesson we're going to start by configuring the render settings for the scene. And we're going to use a plugin called V-Ray. So let's go here to the render settings. Now by default, these are the renderers that Cinema 4D offers us. So these ones right here. And up to Cinnamon, Corona, Arnold, and V-Ray are plugins that I've downloaded. So these won't appear in your renderers unless you've downloaded them. You can download this one from the V-Ray website or your preferred website. There is plenty of information online of how to install this plugin, so you shouldn't have any problems. So we'll select V-Ray once you have the plugin. I already have my preferred settings as I use this plugin quite a lot. So I have these presets here. This one is a test render and the other one is for the final piece. But I'm going to just briefly go over how the render settings can help us to achieve a great looking result. I'll try to explain some of the factors that can affect the quality. Okay, so with the settings I have here, let's render to take a look. And there it is. There are no lights yet on this scene, which is something that we'll do in this lesson. But this is how it looks right now. Let's go into this a little bit. Here in DMC, you have the number of subdivisions. This also represents the quality of the image. So if it's just a test, then you could lower the number of subdivisions to 4, for example. And as you can see, that's the amount that I have in my render test settings. Here I've kept it as it is. In indirect illumination, it's very important to activate this global illumination. And when this is activated, we get all these settings here. It does look quite complicated, all this information here, but there are a couple of things that we do need to watch out for. So, for example, here in Irradiance map, we have the minimum and the maximum. These are the default values, so you could change those. And the settings that I have are meant for this kind of project. So the settings could change a lot depending on the type of project that you're working on. But the default options like Irradiance map and light cache are quite good, but you can experiment and try out different things if you want to. You could see these different options and see what works the best for you. Could leave that like this. Here in background environment are the options to create a lighting for our scene. For the lighting, the correct option would be this one, Reinhard. And these are the values that I have for it. This is the one for the final render. But as this is a test, then these values are enough. You could also change the gamma to 2.2 to make it more precise. You don't really need to change much of these settings, but of course if you want to, you can have a look at them and try different things out for yourself, and this would give you a much better idea of all the concepts. So these are the preview settings. And as I said, feel free to explore the rest of the render settings if you'd like to. Now what we're going to do is create some lighting for our scene. And how will we do that? We're not going to create separate lights, but instead we'll use a HDRI, which is a high definition range image, to create our illumination. So we'll go here to area light first, and in the options make the shadow a soft shadow. But we won't see the effect of this unless we convert this light to a V-Ray light. It's completely black right now, but if I click on the light and I select examples tags, V-Ray bridge tags, I have more plugins installed, so you probably won't get all these options that I do. Okay, so just select V-Ray light. And here is where we can add the texture. So in this case, my HDRI image. Here it is. Okay, let's just see that again. Here it is. This is the image. It looks like a photography studio with lighting. And this will help us configure our scene and create some interesting lighting. So let's see how it looks up to now. Go here to the preview. Okay. So the lighting is very small. And why is that? Because we need it to cover a larger area. So adjust the outer radius to a much higher number. You can also change the area type, for instance to hemisphere or a sphere. Let's add a camera, and we'll just go out of this view, and there we can see how much the light is covering. It seems there's a small problem with the lighting when you add the tag before adjusting a few things. So let's remove the tag so we can set up our light properly. I'll make the shape a hemisphere. And now I'll add the tag. Let's zoom in and back to the camera. Add the texture again. Now let's take a look. And there it is. We need to make a few more adjustments. You can add physical properties to the camera, but we also need to add a V-Ray tag to it. So a V-Ray physical camera. And now the camera has physical properties, like the white balance, the exposure, the speed, etc. Check this option here, fixed exposure increments, and we'll add these values. These values are for the camera. Let's take another look. And it's looking a bit better, right? But I need to adjust the white balance. You could change it to D50, for example. But you can just try out the options and see how it looks. We really want something more neutral, I think. Not really towards the yellows or the blues. So I'm going to set it to neutral. Let's take a look. Okay. Maybe there's too much light. So what we could do is lower the increment a little bit. Or we could also lower the intensity. A 0.8 is good enough, I think. Let's see how that looks. So as you've seen, we can get interesting lighting effects in our scene by using a HDRI image to reference. Let's preview the whole thing. So right now, the render is quite quick, but this does depend on your computer, of course. So that's all for now, and in the next lesson, we're going to create some texture. I'll see you there.